right, welcome to the show. Here we are again, third time today. Let's see where we go with this one. This is going to be the Kennedy assassination discussion, and we're going to bring my cousin in. She's going to help with this. We're going to talk, discuss a lot of things about Kennedy. Let's bring her on right now. Let's see here. There she is. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
There you go. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's good. Well, we're going to try to discuss things about Kennedy. Like I've got a couple of videos on that. I want to also promote a book here, On the Trail of the Assassins. This is with Jim Garrison. That's who Kevin Costner played in the movie JFK. So it's his book on being on the trail of the assassins. The other thing I'd like to promote is also The Men Who Killed Kennedy box set here. One of the best things going that examines everything out there as far as what kind of possibilities there are on what took place. There's so many things that can, was it the Cubans? Was it the Russians? Was it our government? Who was it? Was it the mob?
I think it was an inside job. An inside job all day long.
Well, there's a lot of evidence for that, and a lot of cover up too, and that kind of promotes that. All right, so first off, we wanted to do today was we wanted to kind of look at some video here, and this is some video of Oswald passing out some literature, and the literature he's passing out is his hands off of Cuba. And it's join the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. And what's interesting about it is, if you look right there at the bottom, Oswald stamped on there 544 Camp Street, and that was Guy Bannister's office in New Orleans, and they wanted to make sure that, I think Oswald did that on purpose to kind of link these things with Bannister and to show that he was working for some kind of governmental intelligence agency, because Bannister's office was down there in New Orleans, right there amongst the ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. He was there at the CIA, the FBI, all that down there. Here he was acting like he was a communist, and they were sheep dipping him to make him look like one for some kind of operation and some of the stuff that they were trying to do. Now, can you see the screen on the okay, so let me get you up here to get you on this, on par with this. Let's get, well, it always goes back to a default. Okay, now can you see it? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and play this.
Listening folks in the view, the person is more or less directly concerned with the conflict between the United States and Cuba. In subsequent programs, we will present talks with people who are connected to the Cuban refugee organizations, people who are connected with President Batista, and U.S. citizens with direct stake in the outcome of the Cuban situation. Tonight we have with us a representative of probably the most controversial organization connected with Cuba in this country. The organization, the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. The person, Lee Oswald, Secretary of the New Orleans Chapter 2 Fair Play for Cuba Committee. This organization has long been on the Justice Department's blacklist, and is a group which is generally considered to be the leading pro-Castro body in the nation.
So there it is. Now on this thing right here, this was supposed to be an interview, and there's actual video of him giving his explanation as being a communist. He was talking about what they were all about as far as what they were trying to do for Cuba. It's kind of iffy, why would this guy be doing this? Oswald's got kind of a shady history. He was in the Marines. He was at Atsugi Air Force Base, where they flew our U-2 planes out, which we were flying our U-2 planes over Russia. And it also had a CIA contingency there at Atsugi. So there's a good chance that he could have got hooked in with intelligence there and met some people and wanted to, get involved. Then he supposedly defects, goes to Russia, and he's there for 5 months. And while he's there, Francis Gary Powers' U-2 plane gets shot down over Russia, which stops off these peace talks that was supposed to take place between Russia and the United States. And next thing you know, he's got him a Russian girlfriend, Marina, and they come back to the United States. He's never questioned. He's never called off to the side. He supposedly defected, but nobody says anything to him. And he gets a job working for an army map maker, and which I would assume it would have took clearance to actually be able to do something like that. But he doesn't. He's not questioned. He's allowed to get a job like that, and then somehow he ends up working at a school book depository after that, and happens to be on the parade route of Kennedy. So, and like I said, he stamped this on the bottom because at that residence or at that office that Guy Bannister had, it had 2 addresses, and one of the addresses was 544 Camp Street. I mean, what do you think Oswald was? You think he was a lone nut?
Do I think he was a what?
A lone nut assassin, or do you think he was actually working for intelligence?
Absolutely not. No. And even when you get more into it, you get into where Jack Ruby, right before Jack Ruby took him out, I could see a lot of stuff in his conversation to the press that shows you exactly, what I'm talking about. Because he was not, I have an echo, I can hear an echo, so I think that's weird. But, I mean, I can kind of discern and see that he, because, I mean, he was telling everybody he was a patsy, number one, and he seemed like he was kind of shocked that he got pegged for something like that, so that was within itself a little bit jarring to see that.
Right.
When you watch stuff like that, it's like, I was watching his mannerisms, his body language when he was talking to the press, and he just seemed like a very passive kind of person, not a cold-blooded killer.
Right.
That's not what I seen.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't look like somebody that would, had that in him to do it. And people that knew him didn't think he was able to do it.
No. That's I just seen that video after I talked to you about this about a week ago. I went down the rabbit hole and was going through on everything, watching the videos, looking at the autopsy pictures, watching, everything. And it's just a little nuts. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's almost just ludicrous to believe it. And to believe that he was up there in that sniper's nest on the 6th floor of the depository. First off, he would have had to been up there early because the motorcade was late. And, the story is that Marion Baker, the first cop, he ran into the building 90 seconds after the shooting. And as he came into the 2nd floor, he saw Oswald in the break room having a Coke. Didn't look like he was out of breath. He would have had to run down 4 flights of stairs. He would have had to pass people down the staircase who was coming down at that time and never saw him. And he's going to end up into that break room not even out of breath. He had nothing about him that looked suspicious. And I think he was exactly what he said he was a patsy. He was exactly what he said he was. I think he knew it. I think the people he has been messing with, I'm not saying he wasn't clean. I think he was actually in the intelligence. I think he was working with these people. I think he was trying to do some stuff. But as far as being an assassin or anybody even pulling a trigger, I just don't believe it.
I mean, okay, let's just say if we ran down, but he was on the 6th floor, so he would have to ran down 5 flights of stairs.
4.
4?
Yeah,
4?
He's in the 2nd floor.
2nd floor. Okay, if he's running down, I mean, just think if we are running down, I mean, we're going to be out of breath. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're going to be sweating and all of that stuff.
Right. Well, and there was 2. I wish I could remember the names of the 2 people, but there was 2 people coming down that stairway. And they were coming down at that time, so they would have had to seen Oswald pass them, and they don't even say he was even doing it, and they didn't even want their testimony. That's the other thing about the cover-up. when you read the Warren Commission, there's a lot of stuff they didn't want to discuss or to even talk about if it was anything that was going to prove anything other than Oswald being the lone nut. I mean, one of the biggest things I thought, as you can see, like in this picture here, and you look at this, this is what they were trying to portray maybe as what Oswald would have been doing there, and that would have been his shot. The problem with this is that if it is just you and you're the lone guy, you would have shot him as he was coming up Houston, which would have been the shot would have got better as they kept approaching. Which for a lone nut, a lone shooter, that would have been the primo shot. So why would you wait until he makes the turn off of Houston onto Elm, only to take the shot here? Well, that's because they believe it was a triangular fire at that moment. You had a guy on a grassy knoll. You probably had somebody at the Dowtex building. Let's see if I think I had a picture of that there. There was a picture here. I just got random pictures up here off of YouTube, and I'm just trying. There was a Dowtex building, which is behind. This is. I don't know if you can see it in this picture, but right here is the Dowtex building, and you see there's a fire escape right there. If I don't think I can blow it up, but there's a fire escape right there, and that would have been a perfect place to do it because of all the metal and stuff. You wouldn't even have noticed any shots being fired from there, but it would have came from this direction. The grassy knoll's right here. This would have came from this direction. There might have been a spotter up here somewhere. That reminds me of like when we look at the Umbrella Man and we look at the guy in the white shirt with Umbrella Man. Some people speculate that they were right here in this area. They believe that those were the people that would have gave the signal with, whether to go, or abort. And but this is the layout. The original route, Chris, was supposed to go straight through here.
Mm-hmm.
But they changed it. And it was changed to come up this way and then to turn. What I was saying was if Oswald's here in this shooter's nest, the best shot was him coming at him. However, he doesn't take a shot there. He waits until after this. Well, why would you do that as the shot keeps getting worse? And that is because of the triangular fire. There might have been somebody here, could have been somebody here, could have been somebody here, could have been somebody up here. Anyways, he's basically running down into a triangular fire, and that's what they were waiting for. By the way, the south side, this is the south side of the Elm Street, they actually had freshly painted curb painted in yellow in spots all the way down through there. And some people speculate those could have been where each team had their chance to take a shot at him, the kill zones. And how do we know that? Because Beverly Oliver, I think it was, or it might have been Gene Hill. One of them walked out onto this as Kennedy's getting shot, and she stepped on that yellow spot, and it's still on the bottom of her shoe today. So that had to be wet paint. Those were painted probably that morning when this took place.
Wow.
So.
And guys, we've been here. That place, I mean, it seems like, when you see the pictures and you see the video and everything, it seems like larger than life. It seems like a really big place. But when you go there in person, it's so small.
Oh, yes, you're right.
It is so small.
Yeah, it's 200, I think 200 yards, I think is all it is.
It's not very big at all. And it's like he was, he had no way out. I mean, it was, they were going to get him. They had plans to get him, and that's evident. But when you go see it in person, it's very surreal. And down to the X's on the road where he was, his fatal shot was.
Right.
Like 3 X's, right? 3 X's on it. And
yeah, that's where the shots were to be taken. As we pulled it back up here, here's a problem you run into, and there's so much problems with this. First off, according to Abraham Zapruder, he was right here. If you can see where I'm moving the mouse, Okay, he's filming this. Well, he actually films the actual killing of him. And by the way, just as a side note, Time Life bought that off of him for $100,000 and locked it up for years. And it wasn't until a few years later that it got brought out to the public, and actually then people got to see it. There's a reason why, according to my last video, if you watched it, you see the head going back and to the left, which if anybody would have saw that, they know that kill shot would have came from the front.
That would have been a front headshot.
Yeah, it had to be
this way. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first shot, as you see Kennedy, as he comes out from behind, before he comes out behind the Stemmons Freeway sign, you could see barely the sign right there, but you could tell he hears something because he stops waving and he looks side to side. So there was a miss, and then all of a sudden, the next one, you see him come out from behind that sign and he's holding his throat, which means that he was shot in the throat at that moment. And then they're trying to say, well, this is the magic bullet theory, that this bullet zigzags all around in the car and causes all this damage to Kennedy and Conley. And I think there was a picture of it down here, right here. This is the bullet that supposedly done all this damage to Kennedy and Conley, hung in the air for so many seconds, made a twist and a turn, and jumped around and ended up supposedly on a stretcher in Parkland Hospital. And as you could tell, there is nothing to that bullet that's really that damaged. That's almost pristine. I'm not going to say it is pristine, but it's close to it. And what's unusual, you would have fired that into any cadaver, anything like that, it would have blunted the end of it. There's nothing there blunted. And it supposedly goes through like 7 entry points. Are you kidding me?
That's nuts.
Yeah, there's no way in the world this does this.
No way.
And as I remember Joe Rogan talking about it on his show, he said, you can say whatever you want about the 3 shots in 6 seconds and all that. He said, he believes it could be done, but trust me, I don't believe it could be done with a Mannlicher Carcano rifle. We'll get into that in a minute. But for this thing to show up on a stretcher in Parkland Hospital, come on. How does that?
Out of the body. How did it magically pop out of somebody's body, right?
Kennedy's
body.
Yeah.
Or Conley's body.
Yeah.
Come on.
And Jack Ruby was seen in Parkland Hospital too. He was spotted in there. I think Jack had a lot more involved in this than what we like to think. He wasn't just a mobster. He wasn't just a nightclub owner. This guy was dirty, and he knew a lot of stuff. And he wanted to talk, and there's a lot of interviews with him after all this took place, and he was in jail. He wanted to speak, but I think he was afraid to, for the powers to be would have done something to him. But, some people speculate he was injected with cancer, and he ended up dying in a jail cell overlooking Dealey Plaza. That's where his last years of his life was looking over that same spot where the shooting had taken place.
That's just nuts.
So, I don't buy it. That bullet is not. Yeah, that's just crazy. But there's so many things. I mean, we're just shotgunning this thing, talking about some of this stuff. If you look in this photo here, you could see Mary Mormon. Mary takes the picture here. She's the one that takes the famous Polaroid. That she takes it right at the same time as Kennedy gets shot in the head. This is Jean Hill. She's Mary Mormon's friend, and she's standing right here beside her. This here is what they called the Babushka lady, and this lady has later been identified as Beverly Oliver, and she was a lounge room singer. A grassy knoll's up here. And if we look, I think
it's the same today. It looks the same.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, the whole thing is, the place still looks the same as it did then. Well, in her photo, and I think I saw here. Here's Mary Mormon's famous photo. This is the one she takes. So that girl that you saw standing there in the black coat, this is the actual shot of her taking that picture. And up here is believed she got the assassin taking the headshot. And that picture, if blown up, would have been this right here. And
That's really hard to see. I think you posted this picture before.
mhm.
Can you kind of show me where it is, what you're seeing?
Okay, right here, this is the muzzle flash. This is the badge. This is his arm. This is the stripe over his arm. Dallas Police.
Wow.
There's the head, the hairline, the brow, the eyes, the ear. It's
Okay.
easier to see the further you get away from it. There
Yeah.
is a colorized version of this, but they don't have it here. But they call that Badge Man. And if you watch JFK, one thing I love about Oliver Stone is when he did the movie, he took in a lot of things into account in making that movie. And one of them was the fact that it speculated that Badge Man was on there. There's people that identified a cop up there on the grassy knoll. He wasn't wearing a hat. He did have a rifle. And apparently he's the one that they believe that took the shot up here off the grassy knoll. So it's just wild to me that we don't really have a good, clear picture. But this guy was concealed under the trees. I mean, he picked a good spot, and there's no doubt in my mind that he was shot from this area. I mean, I played it on one of my other videos, but I'm not going to do it on this one because it got me age restricted because the headshot is pretty graphic. But you could tell when you watch it, his head goes from back and to the left, and carrying the momentum of the bullet. If he would have got shot from behind, he would have went forward. And there is a moment where he does lean forward before the headshot, which indicates that he did get shot in the back. And Chris, I'm going to tell you, the autopsy photos and the people at Parkland Hospital, the doctors there, they said that they knew that this one here, this one that got him in here, this was going to be this was an entry wound right here at the throat. But he also had an entry wound back here in his back, and when they could stick their finger up into that hole and feel the end of it. So there's a shot. Here's a shot. We know the head shot, and that's not counting what happened to Conley. So how many gunmen were there? Well, there's definitely more than one. That's for doggone sure. Because you can't, if you go with the Zapruder film, you only got 6 seconds to get all these shots involved. And if you only got one guy, it makes it almost impossible. And he is using a really, really crappy gun. He's using a Mannlicher Carcano Italian rifle. It was a World War II surplus. And what makes that interesting is that he's definitely they called it the humanitarian rifle is what they called it. So I think I lost her. See if we can draw her back in here. See if we can get her back in here. See where she's at. Yeah, I lost her. Well, anyways, we'll carry on. She's got the link to join us back, so we'll go from there. So it doesn't make too much sense. If we look at the rifle, this is one thing that always bothered me, and I think I got them in my pictures here. If we look at the rifle itself, let me find to see where I got that at. Like I said, we were doing this on the fly. Oh, well, while we're talking about that, let's look at the autopsy. Here's some autopsy photos of Kennedy. They are calling this right here an entry wound, or actually an exit wound. But the Parkland Hospital people actually cut this open to give a tracheal entry there so he could breathe. But they all there called that an entrance wound. People at Bethesda who did the autopsy said that was an exit wound. So we've got a discrepancy on what we have with the actual body and what's going on with it. I don't know what else I got here. There's Oswald. There's the autopsy. So they're calling this. They were calling this at Bethesda. They were calling this an exit wound, but it's a trachea. That's what it was. They gave him that. The bullet. is an entrance wound there. They had to open it up a little bit, and that's what the doctor said there. But like I said, the doctors at Bethesda was saying this was an exit wound, and it isn't an exit wound. It was just opened up because they were trying to get him air. They were trying to save his life. That was the goal there. I thought I had another picture of him. Yes, here it is. Here's the back of the head, guys. Notice it isn't blown out, but in the video you can actually watch and see all the doctors at Parkland Hospital knew that this was done, that the back of his head was blown out. Even the hearse driver that put his body into the casket that they provided said that the back of his head was spongy. Does it look spongy to you? Does it look like it? No, it looks like it's intact. Something's amiss here. Something don't seem right. And how many shots were they? I don't think we'll ever know. Why won't we ever know? Well, it's because what they did was that they fixed the car the very next day. So we'll never knew what the evidence was that would pertain to what was going on there. We'll never know because there was obviously had to be more shots going on than what we're told. I was trying to see what I did with this gun, and I know I have it here. There's that picture of that badge man that we were talking about. That's a colorized version, guys. That's what they added color from the Mary Mormon film or picture. And now obviously it's added color so you could actually see what's going on with it. But there you go. That's what they believe is badge man. And this would have been the railroad worker that was up there that had been sighted and seen. And this would came from Mary Mormon's picture. And if we look here, we're talking up here in this area right here, this area right here, blown up. Probably would have been 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. And let's see what else we got. Oswald's mugshot. I just don't believe this guy did it, guys. There's just no way. When he was finally told all he'd been charged with was the shooting of an officer. Do you realize they had him for 24 hours? He never even got anybody to come forth and be his representation. He was being held without any legal. That's unheard of. Why would they do that? Why would they not have that? So what else we got here? Here's a thing from McClellan, the doctor at Parkland. Look where he says the back of the head was blown out. Right there, guys. But what did I just show you in the picture? His head was intact. So the autopsy photos didn't jive with the doctors at Parkland. What's going on there? Doesn't make any sense other than a cover-up. And they had to pick 2 of the green doctors it's never even had any expert dealings with any gunshot wounds in Bethesda to handle this. I mean, those guys were Humes and the other guy, and they burned their autopsy notes, guys. They burned their autopsy notes because they said they didn't want the autopsy notes to become pop culture icon pieces to be sold, because they felt like that, it had his brain matter, had blood on it, and they felt like somebody would get hold of it. And they said, but here's the catch. Oswald's still alive. They would have had to gone and testified if there was going to be a trial on Oswald. They would have had to have their notes to rely on to actually go into court and use that evidence towards Oswald. But they burned it. They got rid of it. They said they made copies of it, but they burned the original autopsy notes. What else we got here? I don't know what this is. I mean, look at him, guys. We waited until we got to Dealey Plaza to take a shot at him. Man, look at all these people just thronging upon him that day. They were trying to get a hold of him, and they wanted to get close to him. I mean, this is obviously that day, because there she is. She's got her outfit on. That outfit is iconic, and it's pink. You can't tell in a black and white photo, but that's exactly what it is there. Oh, let's go see. There's Oswald holding. Okay, here's Oswald holding his gun. I think I talked about this in another video of mine, but there's another picture of him, and here, the gun is attached. The sling is attached to the bottom of the gun, but when they hold it up, the gun is actually, it's got the sling attached to the side. Here it is. This is when they took it from the school book depository. Look at that. Where's the sling at? Where's it attached? Right here. In the lifetime live photo, it's attached to the bottom. So we've got a discrepancy on the gun itself. And as I said earlier, this is the Mannlicher Carcano rifle. This was called the humanitarian rifle of World War II, because if you used it, you was more likely you wasn't going to kill anybody with it. It was a terrible gun. It was a trashy gun. And this is the one that he supposedly gets from a mail order from Chicago. That's the one he picks. I mean, he could have went in any gun shop in Texas and never even had anything linking him to the assassin weapon by picking anything. He could have picked a German Mauser, for God's sake, and had that. But no, he supposedly leaves a trail of by him buying this from a mail order using the name Alex Heidel, and this is mailed to him, and he has this gun. The weird thing about Oswald is we've got Oswalds popping up everywhere. Oswald is at, they believe he was at a shooting range at one time, shooting at another man's target, and then claiming he thought it was Kennedy, joking about it. Another time he was taking a car out and riding it all over town and hot dogging it. And he was proud to say his name. There was an Oswald showing up in Mexico City that they had a picture of that looked nothing like Oswald, a heavy-set guy. They were just making this all up to perpetuate him as an assassin. I believe is exactly what he said he was. He was a patsy. That's what he was doing. The government, I believe, or the Black Ops, whoever it was trying to make him into the guy that they wanted to perpetuate as the assassin. And I don't think he had anything to do with it. I mean, when he says, all I've been charged with is shooting an police officer, and he said, well, have you been charged with shooting the president? He goes, I haven't been told that. And then somebody says, well, you have been charged. And the look on his face is worth a million words. It's like, oh my God. And I think right at that moment, he knew he was being set up. I think he knew he was being set up when he left Dealey Plaza. That's what I think. But that's just me. I think that's the reason why he got out of Dodge, because I think he knew something was not going down right. There he is in the backyard. There again, you can see where it's attached. Look where it's attached, guys. Right there, right at the bottom of the rifle, not to the side of the rifle. Let me pull that back again. Let's put it right here. Look where it's attached here. It's attached to the side of the rifle. Right there to the side of the rifle. And here it is at the bottom. It's not the same rifle, guys. And this was the picture that showed up on Time Life that implemented him as being the assassin. When showed these pictures, he said this was just my head superimposed on another body. The shadows don't line up. I'm not a photo expert, but a lot of people have talked about the shadow on his nose versus the shadow of his body doesn't line up correctly. But this was the photo that pretty much said, hey, this is our guy. This is the assassin. This is the guy that did it. What do you think? Same rifle? I don't think so. Leave a comment. If you believe this is the same rifle, explain to me why. Because once again, I show you it's to the bottom. And there it is to the side. There's James Tague. He's the one that messed it all up for him. He is the one down here. And as you can see, they're still on the ground. So all this is taking place. This is at the time of the shooting down here by the triple underpass. Here he is right here. and he felt like he got stung in the cheek, and an officer was there and told him he was bleeding from his cheek. What happened? He caught a fragment of a bullet, and they couldn't ignore his testimony. They wanted to think that one bullet did this damage to Kennedy, one bullet did this damage to Conley, and then the third bullet was the one that killed Kennedy. It was the headshot. But with this miss, they can't fit 4 shots in 6 seconds. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think they could fit 3 shots in 6 seconds. Not from that distance and to be that accurate on the third shot. The one thing that always got me about that shooting, what they wanted to believe, if you're up there and you're shooting, he apparently fires the first shot, locks and loads, so it ejects a shell casing. Would have probably went over his right shoulder, which they're laying down in a sniper's nest. When they were found, they were right there by the window, which makes no sense because they would have probably sprung out from behind him. But the first shot he takes, okay, so he locks and loads, so ejects a shell casing. Then he fires again, and then he locks and loads, ejects a shell casing, and then on the third shot he fires. Now this is what I don't understand. They found 3 shell casings laying there right by the window, but apparently he would have had to lock and load another round before he got out of Dodge. Guys, there's 3 casings on the ground, there's 3 shots, so obviously that's what he had to have done if you want to believe the official story, which I do not. And then he stows the rifle and then runs down 4 flights of stairs, passing people who were going down the stairs at that point in time, and then to show up into the break room on the second floor, not being out of breath, not sweating, not looking like he's panicking. And apparently when Marion Baker got up there, the officer who ran in the building 90 seconds after the first shot, as he ran into that building, he saw Oswald, and there was nothing suspicious about him. So I think it's exactly what he was. He set up to take the fall. They had him in there. Was he in part of the intelligence community? I believe he was, but he was expendable. And I think I talked about this before. This guy holding this umbrella up, it always bugged me about it. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit more. This guy right here, he's holding an umbrella up. Some people in the conspiracy world believe this was a signal for go, go, go. This guy holding his hand up, he could have been waving. But these guys, I mean, to have an umbrella out at that moment, didn't have it up before, has it up at this point in time, and then doesn't have it up after the shooting, and then he just meanders away. Never questioned, don't know who he was. We know everybody else in Dealey Plaza that day. We don't know who these guys are. We have no clue. And to me, as a reminder, we've got people all over Dealey Plaza identifying as Secret Service. But there was no Secret Service in Dealey Plaza that day. All the Secret Service was on the car behind Kennedy. Look at this, guys. Look at the doctors. Where's the doctors pointing at? Where are the doctors pointing at on the back of their head? These are the doctors from Parkland Hospital. This goes inconsistent to what was shown in the autopsy photos. The autopsy photos show a complete back of the head intact. This is not what these guys saw. And by the way, they should have kept the body. They should have been allowed to do the autopsy. They should have been the ones that actually investigated, because by law, by Texas law, if there was a coup d'etat to be taking place, it was done by the people of that town to make sure there wasn't a coup d'etat. But I think that's exactly what it was. It's like that famous line as Donald Sutherland is talking to Kevin Costner's character in JFK. You know, JFK is playing Jim Garrison, and he's saying, I just can't believe that our own government could have done it. And he said, kings and queens die every day. Just read Shakespeare. He just wasn't playing ball with them. He wasn't going to play ball with them. He was going to do away with the Federal Reserve. He was going to pull the troops out of Vietnam. He was going to do away with the CIA. He already fired Alan Dulles. Guess what? Dulles gets to investigate his death. That's unbelievable. Talking about the fox guarding the hen house. But there we are. Look at this, guys. He's turning off of Houston, he's going on to Houston right here, coming off of Main Street. Look up there. Look up there. Do you see open windows? I can't believe that they would allow any of this to happen. And then for the car to make a 120-degree angle turn onto Elm, it's just going against all their rules. But yet, here we are. This is moments before he dies, guys. He's going to die in a few minutes, or not even probably minutes. It's probably going to be in a few seconds. Unbelievable. I don't know what else we got here. There is the pristine bullet. We talked about that earlier, me and Chris did. This bullet shows up in a stretcher in Parkland Hospital. It supposedly zigzagged and moved around all of the car. This is the one that was called the magic bullet. And it ends up in a stretcher in Parkland Hospital after it zigzags around all this car and does all this damage to Oswald and Conley. I mean, come on, guys. Anybody that knows anything about ballistics knows this is almost impossible. This is so impossible. But Arlen Specter is the one that came up with the magic bullet theory. Why did they do it? Again, they had to fit the 3 shots in 6 seconds. They couldn't do anything else, and only 2 of them they could now, because they have a miss, so 2 of them had to do, well, we know one's the kill shot, so this one had to do all this magic work to get it done in the time frame that they had. Let's see what else we have here. I just don't believe he did it, guys. I think he knows right there. I think he knows. Here's the autopsy photo again. I think there's where they called earlier. I was talking about that is an entrance wound. I know it's opened, but that was because the doctors at Parkland Hospital opened it up so they could get in there to try to save his life. Here's the back of the head again, guys. Remember what the picture I just showed you that the doctors were pointing at? It's intact. That's his ear, guys. That's his ear. Look at that. That head is not blown out. And as I said earlier, when they went and put him in the casket, the hearse driver said, we used our best casket. They put him in a nice bronze casket, and his head was wrapped in towels. And when they picked him up, he said he could feel the back of his head cave in. And then they laid him in that casket, and then they had a fight over the body at Parkland Hospital. The Secret Service, they were cussing. They were cussing the doctors. The doctors were trying to say, no, you can't take the body out of Parkland because we've got to investigate it. And they said, if you don't get out of the way, we're going to run you over. This is all happening in eyesight of Jackie. She's seeing them fight over her husband's body. And they get out of there. And if you ever see the video of them taking the body up the stairs to in the casket, onto Air Force One, dude, they're banging that casket all the way up that walkway. It's a getaway. And then when it shows up at Bethesda, the testimony for the people who received the body at Bethesda said he was in a slate gray casket and he was in a body bag. What happened to the bronze casket? What happened to the towels around his head? Somebody was doing something with that. And then we've got these photos. Are you kidding me? All the doctors said the back of his head was blown out. That back of this head is not blown out. Tell me we don't deserve another investigation into this? Trump, if he does become president and he's got RFK Jr. on his team, they need to release all the documents that has anything to do with this assassination. It needs to be released. Now, are you going to find a note that says, yes, we did it? No. But you're going to find a lot more evidence that could prove it. I want to see Oswald's tax records. That's what I want to see. Who was paying him? Where did he file his taxes, and where was he working for? And I think you're going to find out he might have been working for the CIA and maybe the FBI. And he was what he said he was. Again, he was nothing but a patsy. But again, this is Guy Bannister. All right, Guy Bannister. This is Jim Garrison. This is the guy that Kevin Costner plays in the movie JFK. I've got his book here. You get a chance. I recommend reading his book. It's On the Trail of the Assassins by Jim Garrison. Good book. He's the only one to bring a trial against this stuff, and he was trying to prove that Clay Shaw was CIA. And Clay Shaw was with Oswald, so was David Ferrie, so was Guy Bannister. They were all in New Orleans, and they were all working with each other. And he proved later on, after Clay Shaw had died, it was proven that he was CIA. And Oswald was hanging with these guys. Again, something just doesn't smell right. There's David Ferrie. Joe Pesci plays him in the movie. They always talked about his weird eyebrows. This guy here was dirty. I mean, he was in with them. He knew Oswald. He even said he knew Oswald. But unfortunately, they ended his life. This is Guy Bannister. This is the one that was Oswald was working with. This is where he was doing this stuff right here with the Hands Off Cuba, the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. And as you can see, the address that Oswald would have stamped on this leaflet linked him directly to this man you see on the screen here, because that was the address of his office. Think about that. And I think Oswald did that on purpose, because he wanted to bring Guy Bannister in on this to make sure that there is a trail linking him to him. It's just in case something happens. It's just a shame, guys. I mean, this man's going to die that day. Secret Service wasn't allowed to, there's a video, I don't have it here, but the video would show that the Secret Service's point in time when they're leaving Love Field, one of them was trying to run alongside the car, and you could see the Secret Service head in the back in the car, then the detail behind him trying to call him back, and you see him just throw his hands like he's mad, like, I can't believe you're doing this. And they would have ran alongside the car the whole distance, but they weren't. They were not going to let that happen. They didn't have the bubble top on. All this was just total violations of anything. Because as I said earlier, there's just people everywhere he went. I mean, as you look at this photo, look at this. This is going to be easy for him. I mean, they said that when they drove down Main Street, you could look at the videos and you can look at the photos. They're at least 15 deep all the way down through there as they're driving through there. But when you get to Dealey Plaza, you've only got a handful of people. It's really weird, because that would have been the place to stand. That would have been the place to see it all. I'm trying to see if I had that. I know I probably did. Let's see, pull these down. Here's the back of the head again. There they are again. Once again, guys, they're showing you where the actual hole in the back of his head was. These are the doctors that actually dealt with Kennedy at Parkland. There's the rifle. Again, mounted to the side. That's not what the picture of that Time Live shows. It's mounted to the bottom. Again, on the side. Again, on the side. Well, there's and look at this. I want to point this out again. This was a sketch from McClellan. He was one of the doctors there at Parkland. Look where he draws the hole at. Right there. In the back of the head. Mary Mormon. Gene Hill. Beverly Oliver. It's just a shame, man. I mean, it's right in front of the American people. But look, still, only a handful of people around. Go back a block, too. You're going to see people just 15 deep, but not here. And like I said, why would you wait until here to do it? Because you actually had triangular fire. This was Mary Mormon's picture that we just saw. She was in a black coat. Again, this is where she's at. She's taking this picture. And right up here is where she captures apparently what they want to believe is Badge Man. It's about 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch that they blew up. That's what it looks like. It's colorized. You can see the thing on the arm. There's the badge. There's a hairline. There's the eyes. There's the muzzle flash. There's the arm. There's a railroad worker right there that was been identified to be up on that hill. Again, there's the back of the head. So this was being redone today. We're talking about it. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, Badge Man. Was there a cop up there? I mean, the route, there's the route. Let's blow this back up. The original route, guys, the original route was supposed to go straight down Main Street, but it was a change, and I don't even think the newspaper that day knew exactly where the change was going to be. But anyways, if the newspaper didn't know, how in the world would Oswald would have known? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And since it was running about 6 minutes behind, Oswald would have already been up there, and he wasn't. There's people that identified where he was at. Look at this. Came down, turned onto Houston, onto Elm, passing all these open windows everywhere. He was just going right into the kill zone. That's all this was. There had to be a guy here. There was probably somebody back here at the Dow Tex building. Maybe somebody on the lower levels on the school book depository. Whatever the case may be, there was more than one shooter. That is definite. And how do they know that? Because the 1978, the House Select Committees on Assassination was presented audio of the gunshots in Dealey Plaza that day. And how do we know that? Because some cop had their finger on the actual CB, their radio, and had it on the whole time and recorded all the shots. And he was located somewhere around in this area. Even at that, they knew that there was more than one location of shots just by the sounds. How many was there? I don't know. We'll never know because the car was told by Johnson wanted the car washed and cleaned and fixed the next day. And it got shipped to the Rouge plant up to Michigan, and it was repaired and returned. That's what it's a cover-up. I mean, there's a couple of people, if you ever want to do, I don't have their names right now, but there's a couple of people that was on that Warren Commission saying this was a travesty. They knew this wasn't, there was something going on, that they were trying to cover this up. I mean, Lee Bowers sees smoke. SM Holland over here, he sees smoke. I think there was another guy, I can't think of his name, he was over here. They all saw smoke coming out from underneath the grassy knoll on the gunshot. When Kennedy got hit, they saw it. But again, they don't care because it doesn't fit the narrative. The narrative is lone nut in this nest. And again, what is he? Is he a lone nut? Is Oswald a lone nut? No. Oswald, as I said before, was a Marine. He defected. He went to Russia. And while he was a Marine, he was at Atsugi Air Force Base in Japan. That's where we flew our U-2 planes out. There would have been CIA influence there at that base. He could have gotten involved with the intelligence community at that moment, and he could have been. And he learned Russian. He knew Russian. But if he's like some lone nut, how would a lone nut learn Russian? But he goes to Russia, gets him a girlfriend. Francis Gary Powers' U-2 plane gets shot down over Russia. And he ends up coming back to the United States with Marina. He's not hauled off and questioned. He's allowed to get a job at an Army map maker. What do you think would happen if you did something like that? What would happen to clearance? Man, you'd be on a list somewhere. But he's allowed to do all this. Why? Because he's exactly what he is. He's being used by the intelligence community to do what he was doing. And they probably placed him there to take the fall. No doubt. I mean, there's more legitimacy to that than anything. It's like talking about 9/11. I've talked about that before. Everybody wants to say, well, you believe in conspiracy theories. Well, of course I do. I mean, reason why is because I'm still looking for the 2.6-ton jet engines that's made of titanium in the side of the Pentagon. They're not there, guys. But that's just crazy if you think that way. But again, if you want to talk about a conspiracy theory, here's one. 4 American jets were hijacked by 19 hijackers using box knives, which, by the way, was orchestrated by a man who used to be working for the CIA, which was done from a cave in Afghanistan. That's a conspiracy theory. I mean, that's the same thing with this. Kennedy was trying to do away with the Federal Reserve. Look where we're at today. If you watch one of my end time reports, every time we close out a show, we look at what the actual debt is. I'll look it up right now. If I go to usadebtclock.org, I'll pull it up on the screen for us right now. Get that off there. Get that off there. All right. Pull this up. Well, I got some little ad here. I don't understand why it's up there, but I'm going to post it anyways. We're going to look at it. Look at this, guys. $35.9 trillion in debt. That's what we owe. We owe. There it is. That's what we owe. This is what Kennedy was trying to get us out from under. This is the Federal Reserve debt. This is who we owe the money to. That New York City bankers called that, it's a cartel, but we call it the Federal Reserve. $35.9 trillion. You think that's awful? Look at this down here. $27.3 trillion owed to Social Security, $41.9 owed to Medicare, $220 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Every time some president does something and tries to fix things, they get shot at. Look at your history with Andrew Jackson. The story was he got rid of the national debt. He did away with the United States Bank, which was a central bank, just like the Federal Reserve was, and he ended it, paid our debt off, and then warned us. He said, don't ever go under another one of those banks again, or you could be indebted to those bankers. And that's what he was warning us about. They tried to kill him, man. They took 2 shots at him on the steps of the United States Capitol building, and both guns misfired. And he about beat the man half to death with his cane. That's how tough he was. And, I think he would roll over in his grave if he knew that he was on the $20 bill, a Federal Reserve promissory note. That's what that is. He wants nothing to do with federal banks. Neither did Kennedy. But yet, when you start messing with these guys' banks, their money supplies, the CIA, all this stuff, and he was going to splinter it to 1,000 pieces, there's way too many things that leads to Kennedy coming back from Dallas in a box. They tried to kill him in Chicago. There was talks about Miami. I mean, he was not popular with these people because they wanted their war with Cuba. He didn't want to go into Cuba. He didn't want to go into Vietnam. He signed Act 263 to get us out of Vietnam. He was going to pull all of our advisors. Do you know the day he was put in the ground? Johnson signed Act 273, which made a full engagement to Vietnam at that moment. This was done all on the day that he was put in the ground. But we lost him, we lost Bobby, and we lost Martin Luther King because they just didn't go with the narrative that they wanted. I visited Oswald's grave in Fort Worth, and it's just a grave that says Oswald. There's no date of death. There's no date of birth. There's no first name, middle name, nothing. Just says Oswald. And I think it was exactly what he said he was. He was a patsy. And they got him, they used him and they sent Ruby in. Ruby. The reason why Ruby said he killed him was because he said he didn't want to see Jackie have to testify in court against Oswald. Oh, that's so admirable. A man who ran a nightclub with strippers is going to go in there so Jackie wouldn't have to go and testify. So, no. It's like I had some friends that was alive during that time, and they said when they saw Oswald get shot by Ruby, they knew then there was a conspiracy. And he did it live on television, guys. It was live that Sunday morning. Shot him live right there on TV. And he died. And then there's videos of Ruby trying to warn people, and he's saying it basically goes all the way to the top. I don't know. There's so many questions. I mean, like there's that guy that LBJ knew, that Wallace feller. His print was found in the 6th floor of that school book depository. What's that all about? FBI said that ain't the same match, but the guy that actually had the print took it to a print analysis guy, and he said it was a perfect match. I'm not a fingerprint guy, but he said the expert said it had 34 points of matching, and they said that's a slam dunk in a court case. But we got somebody that knows the vice president who's linked to him, and his print is showing up in the 6th floor of the school book depository. What do we do with that? Nothing. It doesn't exist. The president's brain. They said they lost it. If you had the brain, you could have tracked the bullet. You would have known where it came from, how it went through. But they lost it. It's just crazy. All this stuff that we're being told doesn't add up. And so many people that are involved in this. I mean, if you ask 3/4 of the Americans now, they will tell you that they believe their government had some involvement in this. And that's pretty resounding. So, if Trump gets in office, there's belief that Bobby Jr. said that, RFK Jr. said that Trump was going to release more of these records. When Trump was in there the last time, a lot of people don't even know this, but anybody ever watched the movie Hunting for Hitler? They were trying to prove that Hitler got out of Germany through Spain and ended up in Argentina. Well, that's what the whole show was about. Guess what? Trump released records that said that our intelligence community knew that Hitler made it to Argentina. But nobody talks about it. Nobody comments about it. There's a town in Argentina that looks like you're walking right in to Bavaria. It looks just like it. So did Hitler make it there? Again, release the documents. Enough time has went by. We, the American people, deserve to know what happened that day in Dallas. We all need to know that. I mean, it's like with the hobos and stuff, and you've got people like Charles Harrelson and E. Howard Hunt, who are believed to be the hobos that are walking through Dealey Plaza. I mean, of course, not E. Howard, but Charles Harrelson said when he got apprehended for killing a federal judge, he said, yes, I did kill that judge, and he also claimed that he also was in Dealey Plaza that day. But after he sobered up and when presented those pictures of those hobos, he said, yeah, it looks like me, but that's not me. Strikingly close, but that's not me. Interesting side note to that, that's Woody Harrelson's dad. And now he's gone. He's no longer alive. E. Howard Hunt, supposedly recorded by his son on his deathbed, saying he was involved. He also said that he told Nixon that if they didn't get him out of jail, because E. Howard was one of the plumbers with the Watergate scandal, he said, if you didn't get me out of here and give me some money, I'll start talking about what happened in Dallas. Don't think that Nixon couldn't have been too far removed from that either. They were all pretty tight. Like I said, if you're not a part of the club and you start looking like you're not going to play ball with them, they will not have you in the club anymore. And that's what happened to Kennedy that day. That's what I believe. But that's going to end the show, I think, for today. I'm glad everybody joined. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. Tell me what you think. I love to read what people believe on this stuff, even on my videos about the Bible and the things we're talking about over there. Give me comments. I'd like to know what you think. I love listening to find and to see what people believe. I had a really fun time doing this tonight. It's been really good. My cousin was with me. I'd like to thank her for being with me early in the show. She's super. She's in Texas. She's been to Dealey Plaza. So have I. If you ever get a chance, take the tour. It's worth it. It's worth it. You get to go to the rooming house of Oswald's. Guess what? It still looks like you walked into the 1960s. It's like when I told my wife when we walked in there, I said, you can almost smell the cigarette smoke. That's how it just looked like really old. And then you see how big of the area he actually slept in. By the way, that's where, it's like I said, it's over in that area in Oak Park. It's a great tour. I recommend everybody to take it. It's wonderful. Anyways, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And for those who are going to watch this video later, I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I think that's going to end it for us today. May God bless you all. May God bless the United States. The election is Tuesday. Let's get out there and let's make a difference. Vote your conscience on what you want. We'll see what happens after Tuesday. Okay? Well, I'll catch y'all on the flip side, and that'll end it for today. God bless y'all. Y'all take care.